right, hello and welcome. We're just about ready to get started here. All right, get my music going. I always do a bunch of audio tests before I get rolling, so I always gotta switch over. Today I'm listening to this really cute, it's a 12-hour mix of Animal Crossing lo-fi with soft rain. In case you guys thought I was over here listening to heavy metal. Alrighty. Hey honey, that's Ricky. That is the other half of M3DM. He's always my audio check guy too. Taylor's here again. Hello. Always good to see you. Alright, let me get my references up. Today I am making the other model that did not win the poll. So I asked you guys if you guys want to see the magical pangolin or if you wanted to see Horus. And the magical pangolin just barely won. I did that yesterday on live stream. The video has been uploaded on my channel, so you can see that. It was great. I had a small artistic crisis for 3.5 hours and it totally paid off. Came out great. Oh good, audio does sound good. Sweet. We have we're always trying new stuff. So we got I think it's called the actual term is called a dead cat. It's the fluffy thing you put on the mic to prevent popping sound. Anyway. But today we're working on Horus. I already sculpted Anubis a while ago. So I have him up here. He's my moral support. I like having models that I have created already that are similar next to it. Kind of give me a guideline to make them as matchy-matchy as possible, because most people that print my stuff use it for tabletop games, and I have a feeling if they want Anubis for their campaign, they're probably going to have a purpose to have Horus in there as well. So, yes. I think that's about everything. Once this file is finished, I'm going to share it on stream. I did that for the first time yesterday, and I'd like to keep doing that. So if you join the stream and you hang out or just jump back in at the end, I'll have the file for you to download for free. If not, I guess you just have to support me on Patreon and make sure I can do this for a living. All right, Corey Gaming is here. Hiya. And Pete. Nice, glad Anubis is your moral support. Right, he looks trustworthy, right? Also, a little more backstory on why I'm doing Horus. There's a really nice gentleman on Instagram who saw a model that I had made recently, and his company has a color resin 3D printer, and he was like, hey, we got some extra resin, you want me to print that for you? And I was like, yes, of course. His name is Joseph, 3D printing nerd, I believe is his handle. And obviously, I'm not gonna take such a fantastic, generous gift and give him nothing, so I'm like, hey, what do you want me to sculpt for you? And he mentioned he liked my Anubis. He's like, well, if you have time, I'd like if you did Horus. So I bumped him up in the queue, and here we go. Ricky said, it's a windshield, nicknamed Dead Cat because it looks well, you get it. Yeah. That makes sense. I hate that I didn't remember the technical name. I'm like, yeah, I got a dead cat in front of me. It's just a puffy, it's don't Google dead cat. Google windshield mic. It's just a little puffy thing, like a pom-pom. There we go, pom-pom. Anyway, we're gonna get sculpting. If you guys have any questions on what's going on, if you're new, just in general, with 3D printing, ask me questions. I love to answer them. All right, let me scoot my live to live. There we go. And then gotta defluff the hair, get it out of my face. There we go. I spent all these years growing out my hair and making it all nice and long, but I hate it when it's in my face. So I'm constantly just pulling it back. You know how it is. All right. I like having this matte cap on here. I think it's a little easier for you guys to see. I usually sculpt with, I think it's called Sculpey cap or something. Matte caps and ZBrush are just materials, so I can click on any of these and get live updates. They also have pre-baked shadows in them, which is really fun. I have sculpted models with a fun matte cap the entire time, but eventually it's a little hard on my eyes. And then down here, these are called standard materials. Standard materials are a little different because I can actually change the light source. If you come up here, of course, the one that I picked doesn't do that. Here you go. There we go. You can change the light source because the shadows aren't pre-baked in these ones. All right, but I like me some pre-baked shadows. Let's go with polyskin and get rolling. Taylor says, imagine saying, quote, I have to buy a dead cat, or, quote, I have to find my dead cat, to anybody unfamiliar with the term. Oh my goodness, I know. I am definitely a cat person, which is funny because I don't have a cat right now. I have a very goofy dog. I've got a pug, which doesn't really count as a dog. I love him, but I grew up with 2 German Shepherds, and we usually call our pug Maverick the Goblin or the Baby interchangeably because he acts like a baby and he sounds like a goblin. But all my life, I've loved cats. I think it matches my personality a little better as well. They're just so self-sufficient. All right, let's talk about what I'm doing, because this is obviously some nonsense, right? So I've got this bird head that I've tacked onto this body. It's like, where did this come from? So I have an asset library that I draw from. We're actually going to open that right now. So if you follow any like professional sculptors, there's no need to sculpt the exact same thing over and over again, unless you have an improvement in skill set, which does happen all the time. But for the most part, I recycle things all the time and just keep transforming and iterating on them. So this is my base mesh bodies that I have. I got male and female. And then here are all of my shirts, all of my headgear. I have even more than just what you see right here, but this is just the default. Oh, my screen is stuck. Ah, so I got a text. Well, let's work on that. It's probably the bit rate. Oh, Pete says the newest was my earliest Patreon request. I see. All right, let's do some switching around. It's my first time being able to troubleshoot on stream. I like it. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's see if this is gonna fix itself. I got somewhat limited troubleshooting. It looks a lot like just starting and stopping. But I think I can figure it out. If not, I can summon the husband. He's always got some good tech stuff to troubleshoot. Yeah, it looks like it just wants to be stuck, doesn't it? That's too bad. Wonder if you guys can still hear me live. That's would be very funny. What if I'm just really descriptive and saying what's happening? Oh, I think I might have fixed it. I'm now watching the live stream live with y'all. Let me clean my camera off too. There we go. Oh yeah, my camera doesn't want to focus. Look at you being so picky, technology. You're fine. Square my face in it. Stop. Refocus. No? Goodness. Well, I know that looks like we're live now. Yep, live audio is good and video is fine. Perfect. Taylor says, summon the husband is a good magical spell. Right? I wonder if that happened, because I'm not sure why that happened. Well, either way, I'll keep my phone on here too. You guys were super helpful, let me know. And if not, I'm sure Ricky will let me know. I wonder if it's because this keeps switching back and forth. Yeah, sorry for the stream issues. Oop. I think it's because it's connecting to my AirPods keep going back and forth and it's pausing the stream. I can deal with that later though. Boo! I don't want to be frozen. I just want to hang out and sculpt. Yeah, I can hear Ricky came in just now. I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
It's live on my side, look.
Yeah, so the camera's good, it's just this screen, the ZBrush.
Oh, yeah.
That's the issue.
Right. Okay, well, I can try... Now that you're here, I feel like I can think again.
Yeah.
Instead of going display capture, I'm gonna try application capture instead.
Okay.
And let me see if I can grab it straight onto ZBrush. Maybe I'll like, ooh, I fixed it. Oh, sweet. Haha. That's what an engineering degree gets you.
Oh, whoa.
So it was frozen in OBS too, so I should have been able to figure that out then, but I don't know. I was just chatting so much.
And you have it up here on the phone too. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I fixed it.
Move around on ZBrush. Make sure that's not just another frozen screen.
We're good.
All right.
All right. We're set. Whoops.
Let's go.
Let's go. Put my AirPods back in. Would you please connect to my head? All right, guys. My very high-tech troubleshooting is solved, and we're set. Thank you, guys. I think it's very sweet. You guys got to see, like, Ricky comes in and suddenly come up with a solution immediately. I swear. He gives me peace. I guess I'll keep him around. Fun fact, Ricky and I, we're high school sweethearts, which, it's funny I share that because I actually hate that we're high school sweethearts because I feel like, I don't know, some people just, they find someone they like and they latch onto them forever. I always specify, I'm like, no, I really, really like this one and we actually like each other. But we've been together for 10 years as of this last, gosh, is it August or September? It's August 30th. Yeah. Ricky and I both are not huge on dates or anniversaries, which is unfortunate. Luckily, our friend Walker is a sweetie, and he has it saved in his phone, and he'll text us to remind us. All right, let's get this back on ArtStream, yeah? I'm going to have this hold up, because now I don't trust it. It looks like the application is going to fix it. Ricky says August, and I'm going to pretend like he didn't put it in all caps. I remembered. And you're not good at it either. We celebrated our 8-year or 7-year anniversary twice in a row. Yeah. Anyway. For anyone that's been hanging around through technical difficulties and is new here, my name is Mia. My husband and I make up M3DM, and we make 3D printable minis for a living. And today we're going to be sculpting Horus from Egyptian mythology. I have Anubis here just because I've sculpted him before. And Anubis was actually a Patreon request, and the person that requested him is Pete. He's awesome. He's actually requested a lot of cool stuff. And now we're going to make him a friend. So what I was talking about before we had some problems is why, like, it's kind of pieced together what's going on. What I did was I went to my asset library. For example, here are a bunch of shirts. Here's a bunch of heads and headgear. And I have an eagle that I sculpted earlier this year. I actually sculpted this because a friend of mine works at Carson Newman, which is a private Christian university in Jefferson City. And their mascot is an eagle. And so he was like, hey, you should sculpt an eagle and then we can print it and give it to people. So that's why that initially became a thing. A lot of this, I think, I'm me sculpting from scratch, especially the body. But I always like to skim through my asset library and see if there's any pieces here that I want. I'm not seeing anything that I need right now. I've already grabbed the pieces that I like. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna save this really quick. I already have a ZPR going. Sweet. All right, let's actually get rolling now that we're 20 minutes in. Goodness. So the first thing I'm going to do is hide this head. So normally I would just delete the mesh, but in this case I'm not going to because I want to keep the subdivision levels. You can just reconstruct the subdivision levels, or you can just give him a tiny head and flatten it, and it's much faster. I do this, that way I don't have vertex mismatching issues when I go into transpose master later. And if that sounded like nonsense, the translation of that is, when I go to pose, this will stop problems from happening later. What is this piece right here? What is that? Oh, her eyebrows. We don't need that. All right, so right now I'm just be fitting this to the body and grabbing my mask lasso and stretching this down. Also going with my move brush and just making sure everything fits nicely. There we are. Well, it's Friday. If you guys have any fun plans for the weekend, tell me what you're doing. I'm curious. I think I'm going to be sleeping. I have not slept super well this week, actually. It was so funny. I think it was on Tuesday, I don't want to call them nightmares because they're so dumb. It's about being back in college. I had a dream that I was like missing my final or something, and so most of the dream was me running to go find my final, which is the dumbest nightmare ever. But my brain took it very, very seriously, and I woke up tired, like legit tired. And after that, I've been kind of just playing catch up. I could have just gone to bed earlier on other nights, but I didn't. I still stayed up and had a good time. Excuse me. All right, I'm happy with how that's fitting, and now we're going to fit that collar. I want to have this same collar as Anubis so they kind of match, but I'll be giving, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for Horus's like headgear. A lot of the references I have show very different types of headgear for Horus. Why does this have poly paint but nothing else? I don't know. Sculpting this jackal head over here for Anubis was actually a huge key of why I was able to succeed in my latest wolf model. It was a wolf folk artificer. It's funny, I've actually talked about it almost on every stream because it kind of just keeps coming up in my brain. It was definitely one of those moments as an artist where I'm like, hey, I leveled up a little bit because I've always really struggled with sculpting wolves. All right, we have the basic pieces fit here now. Now we're gonna start worrying about what's gonna make Horus actually look different, because this is as matchy-matchy as I want him with Anubis. So let me pull up my references. I'm now keeping my OBS Studio open so I can make sure if I go frozen again. There we go. All right, so these are the references I'm kind of looking at right now. Some of them, he has like this like funny hat, which I do have sculpted already because I made that for a mummy queen, which I think Pete also requested. I cannot remember right now, but they fit very well together. Here it is again in like the actual hieroglyphic. I'm not sure if this is like the official legit hieroglyphic. But I would like to give him this staff that has this flatter head on it. For Anubis, I gave him the classic, I think it's called an Ankh, A-N-K-H. Spelling was never my strongest subject. I really like the ornateness of this. Obviously this has to be AI generated. There's some real funny muscle tone going on there. It also kind of looks like feathers, which I think is neat. All right, we're gonna scoot that back over. Just kind of want to show you my process, what I'm thinking of. Well, before I get too much further into all the fine details, I want to adjust the body a bit more. I'm on the fence on whether or not he's gonna have wings. In most depictions, I do not see him with wings, but wings make every model a bit cooler. I don't think I'm gonna give him wings as cool as it is though. You know, I can always do a version with and a version without. It's very easy for me to remove and add. I'm actually gonna jump into Transpose Master a little early, and that's so I can adjust his body and musculature. I'm gonna have him taper up a little bit. I kind of want really broad shoulders to give this, you know, like they call these muscles, I think, your traps, like wings. I've heard that before too. So I'm masking this entire top part. I'm gonna make it a little bit larger. I just want him to be really tall and lanky and more bird-like. Like Anubis is absolutely ripped. Horus will be as well, but I want him to be longer and leaner looking. I like how this is looking. I'm gonna turn off perspective. This is gonna be a very tall model. To exaggerate that more, I'm gonna make whatever drapery he has a little bit shorter. I'm gonna show off those legs. And I might even taper them out a little bit more, similar to what I have going on for Anubis. I'm gonna hide this. I'm gonna select just his arms and make these a bit longer. But I'm not going to deform, oh goodness, what is this muscle called right here? I think it's your deltoid. I don't want to deform that anymore because it'll make the arm look weird. But I can get away with stretching this part. There we go. Normal proportions, your fingertips should fall about halfway through your femur, and then your elbow should be about your waistline. I say should because I read all these like rules of anatomy, and then just like walking around even at the grocery store, I'm like, you broke that rule. You broke that rule. Like, there's a lot of variety in people. It's really more of a guideline. All right, I'm also gonna suck in his belly. He is gonna be a lean machine. Very good. All right, those little adjustments will make it more fun for me as I'm trying to dress him up. I'm gonna go in and delete this pose because I'm definitely not gonna need to go back to that. I like how flat this shape is right here. I'm gonna run with that. Let's give that a stronger corner. On Anubis, I have like this, it's kind of like a collar, like a dog collar almost. It kind of swoops this really smooth shape. But for Horus, I want it to be sharper and this nice angle coming up. I'm just thinking wings the whole time without actually sculpting them. I like having his little bird fluff neck sitting on top of the collar, so I'm making sure there's not too much clipping going on. I also have some wobbliness in these lines. What I can do is I can crease this entire piece. It's kind of hard to tell, so this is the before, this is the after. You can see that little dotted line right here. If you're still like, I can barely see that, I know, using a Z-modeler is hard. I avoided using the Z-modeler brush for so long. Anyway, but now that I've creased it, it's gonna keep those sharp edges, so when I go to polish by features, you're gonna get a really nice automatic little smooth there. So, see, isn't that nice? It's subtle, but it will do a better job than what I can do easily and quickly by tiny adjustments. The more that you move your model around in tiny little nudging motions, generally the lumpier it's gonna look. That's also why I'm always harping to my students to work as low poly as possible. And this is actually decently low poly. See, if all the assets in my asset library looked something like this, I'd be comfortable sharing it or even selling it for $5 for a pack of like 50. But they don't look like that. A lot of them look like absolute chaos when you opened up the wireframe view. I would like to share that at some point though, because I know it'd help a lot of my students. But I don't want to like teach them bad practices. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of what I do, you know? All right, so right now we're gonna be working on the musculature, and this is kind of different than usual. I've sculpted a lot of muscles and bodies over the years, but I like how with Anubis, I almost have this like mummy-like stretch, dry skin look. So, yes. Ooh, Taylor asked, will this be Anubis or Nekhbet? I don't know who Nekhbet is. This is supposed to be Horus, which is the one with an eagle head. Me Googling it to make sure I'm like, what am I talking about? Yes. Yes. It is Horus. I'm gonna quickly Google Nekhbet. Oh, interesting. I mean, it's very similar. It's a vulture head instead. So let me screenshot that so I can put that on screen. This is what Taylor was asking about. And it's very similar. And then I'm gonna pull my reference over. Boop. And this is the one I'm working on right now. Yeah, Anubis is just up there for moral support because I've already made that model and I'm really happy with how he turned out, and I want these to look like they're in a set, you know? A little matchy-matchy. Mac has this new feature where it's supposed to like auto pin your screens and stuff. I found that it fights me more than it helps me. All right. Sweet. So to do musculature, I use a handful of brushes. I like using Dam Standard with Lazy Mouse turned on, and I also use clay, and then sometimes some standard. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna go a bit lower poly than this. There we go. Corey says, can't see the reference because you have to switch your stream to ZBrush application, so that's all it's showing for us. That's right. I appreciate you for bringing that up. Well, the name of what I'm saying, I'll just put it in the chat. It is spelled yeah. So I put it is spelled Horus if you want to Google it. There's a bit of a lag between what you guys are seeing live and what I'm typing, so I tried to space it out a little bit. So right now I'm just really drawing some creases in here, and I'm not being too picky with the perfect anatomy or anything like that. It's more for a look that I'm going for. Like, there's no crease right here that I just did. I'm pretty sure there's not supposed to be a crease there. But just so I can map out the kind of musculature I want him to have. Over the years, there's a lot of landmarks I've tried to get better at remembering. Arms are the bane of my existence, and we do not talk about elbows on this channel at all. I will not stand for it. I cannot sculpt them. It's fine. Something that helps me is that I know between the deltoid and whatever this muscle is, I always forget the bicep, it kind of comes to a point right here, and then it connects, like draws a line right there. Obviously not quite that harsh, but I have some references that I'm always looking at. All right, once I kind of have these landmarked out, I'll then go to higher poly, kind of look at it, see if I like that. I do. And then I'll go in with clay and I'll build up those forms around it. Corey, that's sweet. It's like, but I bet it's cool. Thanks. So now it's kind of like coloring in the lines. I find this to be the fastest and easiest way to build up musculature. It is definitely not like, be careful with how I word this. How do I want to word this? With art, and especially when sculpting anatomy, there's kind of like a pretentiousness to it Because it's a really cool craft though, and there's so much to learn, and anatomy can be very complicated. You know, it's like a big visual memorization game. And then once you know the rules of like where like we say like bony landmarks are, because for example, you'll always have this is your collarbone, starts here, and it will always swoop up kind of like in this Cupid's bow look, and it'll connect right here, which I think is called your, not acronym, that's a different word. I can't remember, but it sounds a lot like that word. Anyway, but once you know those bony landmarks, you can really do a lot. And I don't know it perfectly. I'm still learning a lot. So instead, I do enough, and I'm okay with it not being perfectly accurate because I'm going for a look more than I am like perfection. But that's definitely not what your art teachers would probably recommend. That's why I'm trying to be careful, because like I'm not trying to put down the way that I do things. I love how I do things. But there's always a more proper, artistic or scholarly way to do things that makes sense. Oh my goodness, there's an artist that I just adore, and I was watching one of his live streams, and this man in like 3 hours, I'm not kidding, sculpted like a single necklace, and I was like, wow, that's better than what I would have done, but goodness, I could have gotten 80% of the way in 20 minutes. And that's kind of how art is though. I mean, that last little bit, that's where a lot of, the artistry happens. So I understand how cool it is, but I could not treat every model like that. I would go insane. I really like to finish models so that you guys can use the models. My friend Miguel knows a lot about this. He'll say it. He's like, yeah, my models aren't the most detailed, but that's not the point of them. Honestly though, some of Miguel's models, if you look at them, there are some that are so detailed though and look fantastic. So there's always exceptions to the rule. Something I find that helps with abdominal muscles as well is going in out of symmetry and kind of just scooting them around a little bit. If you look at pictures of bodybuilders, you'll find that it's never perfectly symmetrical. That's always helped me. All right, I have like a bulge right here, and it shouldn't be there. So we're gonna just push it in. No, stop doing that. There we go. I like it. Add a little bit more volume to deltoid there. But I would scoot him down because I don't know if I'm allowed to show like a butt when I'm sculpting live. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that counts as nudity. Right now I'm kind of adding some lines that are going to catch paint. That's definitely not terribly accurate, but most of it's covered up by the collar. Again, we're going for functional. Bam. So that's how his musculature is looking now. I can do a little before and after for you guys right now if I have enough history. I do. Perfect. If you are learning ZBrush and you kind of want to see a quick overview, this is a really good time to look up. So we have this initial starting stage, and then I went through and I kind of did a bunch of lines, right? Bam. So I kind of mapped out where I wanted this musculature to go. And then I spent time filling in the volume. And now we're here. There we go, kind of like a step 1, 2, 3 guide. And this one on the far right is gonna paint much, much nicer. If you print this at mini size, so like 28mm or 32mm scale, no paint's gonna catch on any of that, and he's just gonna look smooth. Totally smooth. Gotta put Anubis back. Also, if you're wondering on how I stamp these like stickers on my screen, I do Shift S. And I use that as a tool all the time. All right, since he is a bird man, I gotta give him some talons, right? So let's make a claw together. To do that, I import a sphere. Shrink it down, I stretch it using the gizmo. And then I grab one of my deformers. I do bend arc usually. Bam. After doing bend arc, I will do taper. And sometimes I use taper first, then bend arc. Other times it depends what kind of shape I want. I want this really like high ridge right here. It looks more talon-like to me. Come on, Gizmo, you're being sensitive. Go ahead and click accept afterwards, and then you're in business. I rotated this forward again and clicked unify to put it in the center of my scene so I can work in symmetry right here, because I want to pinch the whole thing. There we go. There we are. Now I'm going to mask, cut half of that off and close holes and smooth. And bam, we've got a talon. It's really wide in some parts, but especially with doing claws, I like them to be pretty oversized because again, this is for 3D printing and more material is more better. Now let's go stick these little talons on there. Ah, what a nice nail. Taylor says, with these models, do you exaggerate the cavities to compensate for the paint coating, or is it more for stylistic purposes? Both. Very good question. The answer is both. I think it looks cool, and it's to help paint, because even though I don't paint many of my models, goodness, do I need the help. I print all of them, and then I hoard them on my desk. I can't, it's just over there, but there's like 20 on my desk right now, and my husband can attest, he has like 100 in the studio. And one day I'm gonna paint them. But anyway, I find painting really fun and really frustrating because I'm not very good at it. And like most people, I like to do things I'm good at. So one day when I get just a little bit better at painting, I'll probably paint a lot more. But in the meantime, I do like to make sure I sculpt my models so that they're as easy for me to paint as possible, because I know not only does it help me paint more, but it also helps my patrons and stuff, because I know they're not artists either. I guess painting artist. Obviously I'm an artist. This is my full-time job. You know, it took me a long time to call myself an artist when I started doing this full-time. And it's not because I didn't love my stuff. I joke all the time that I'm my own biggest fan. And I'm a firm believer that you need to be like that if you're gonna be in the creative field professionally. But there's something about calling yourself an artist. I don't know, it felt silly. Especially because I grew up playing piano. Like, I was the piano girl, you know? And I was a musician much more than I ever considered myself an artist. All right, so we got some talents on this side. Bam, mirror and weld. They're a little bulgy. Like, I don't like how this goes straight and then this big curve, but these fingers are really spindly and I don't like that either for printing. So I'll do move with back face mask and we're gonna make these fingers thicker. There we are. I will also go through and then adjust these talons a little bit too. Bam, I like that more. And I don't mind if it covers past the nail bed. That's such small details at that point. And I like the effect. Cool, looking good. I don't think I'm gonna give him talons on his toes because that would just feels silly. But I will make his toes a little bit bigger and make his feet thicker overall because, you guessed it, it's better for 3D printing. Bam, thicker feet. I also like exaggerating these bones right here, especially on anthropomorphic monster models. Right now, I'm also exaggerating the bone structure in his legs. Also going to accentuate these muscles here too. I'm doing that for paint, but also because I don't want him to look like he has just normal man legs. He is like a half bird Egyptian. I don't think Horus is a god. I think he's like more like a deity. God, I need to look up what he is exactly again. he's more, I think he's in service to like the highest god as opposed to being the one served. But they were all worshipped in some capacity. All right. I really like how this is looking. Pretty cool. Oh, Corey asked, what does backface mask do? Excellent question. So the purpose of backface mask, I will tell you in a second, because I don't use it for its normal purpose. I use it because if I turn it on, if I use it with move, go ahead and look up, you can see I can just add volume. I can like stretch, but it's not pulling on the bottom side of his arm. So I can just, see I can pull down, it leaves the top alone. So I can just pull on one side and add a bunch of volume. If I don't have that turned on, move will just, you know, it just moves the whole arm. So we got kind of like jelly arms going on here. That's the way that I use backface mask, but that's not really the intention of it. The intention is so that when your brush size, which is this red circle, is larger than the thickness of your mesh, it won't affect the back side. Which I'm sure you're like, what? So let me show you a demonstration. If I grab like this spike brush and I make it really big, if I put this spike right here, yeah, it's a spike, right? However, if I flip to the other side, it's also going to pull through this mesh if I make this too big. See? So it's gonna start pulling through. If I have backface mask turned on, I can make this as big as I want, and it's never going to destroy the back side of it. So there you go. That's what backface mask does. I found out the way it works with Move Brush is complete accident, and I'm like, ooh, that serves me really well. Corey says, ooh, that's nifty, isn't it? I also love the word nifty. It's right up there with neat. All right, so right now this is the identical skirt pretty much that I have for Anubis, and even though I want them matching, I don't reuse assets that heavily. So what we'll do is I'm gonna delete this gem right here. I'm gonna break this into pieces, and we're gonna make this unique to Horus. So right now I broke it down into these different pieces. These are kind of like my main building blocks is how I'm gonna think of them. There we go. We have this front piece and these little side fans. Something just lost battery. Might be my AirPods. I'm just being aware since we had a couple tech issues in the beginning. I'm like, just heard the little sound like do 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 do. I don't know what that was. AirPods are still working. I don't know. It's fine. Yep, everything's working. Alrighty. I like that the shape of this is a little different already than Anubis. His is kind of flat and across. This one has more of an arc to it. I think to make this look even more different, instead of having this taper here, I'm going to square it off. I'm not certain how I want to achieve that, so I'm going to play around with the 3D gizmo. I think I can use taper to achieve what I'm wanting. Kind of. Not, oh, I forgot there's a back piece too. That's why it's working weird. Auto group, gonna delete that back piece. There we go. Now let's use taper. That's giving me more so what I was trying for. There we go. Giving this a more squared off bottom, I think is going to make it look significantly different and more interesting. I'm also going to add a crease and see if I can get a nice polish. Yep, there we go. That's cleaning that up pretty nicely. These little cubes on the bottom look silly though, so we're going to give them a little bit more attention. You'll notice I'm being very careful to grab the exact vertex that I want. Otherwise, I'll start doing stuff like this and see that's not helping. All right. Now it's squared. Looks a little silly on the back because I just grabbed the front pieces. So to fix that, I can turn on local symmetry and I can mirror a weld instead of across the x-axis. I think it's going to be the y. I can never remember which one it is. I just click it until it does what I want. Wasn't y, it is z. Also gonna be careful to move this. There we are. There we go. Looks a little funny on the bottom, but that's a-okay. Sweet, we have that piece all squared off. I'm happy with that little building block, and now we're gonna move on to these hip pieces and see what I wanna do with them. I like the general shape I have. I might wanna have these a little more squared off as well, but not quite to the extent I did with the main tabard. I might even just want to use the main tabard and keep duplicating that around. Let's see. First, let's give him some modesty. Let's just, doop, we don't need to see Birdman butt. Go ahead and whiten that. Very nice. Yeah, what do I want to do with these hip pieces? I could do more tabards, or I can give him almost like mummy wrap leggings. I'm kind of thinking of, I'm toying with that idea. Pull my references again. I think they just have him in like a big skirt. They do. Maybe I'll do that. So this is how I make skirts. I go to the main body of somewhat low subdivision level, turn on mask pen, and I go higher up than you would think, like that. Under subtool, do not start a Boolean process. Stop. There we go. I'll go to extract. I always extract at 0 thickness. Makes the mesh easier to deal with. And then I will Z-remesh with half turned on. Do that a few times, a couple polish by features. And I liked, it's not imperative the topology is perfect, but it's nice when it's not goofed up. So this line right here, it's uneven, but there at least is a line of polygons all the way across without any triangles. Let's see if we can do a little better though. I'll do Z-remesh with same. So that's before, that's after, it's just a little bit nicer. Again, it's not imperative, especially for what I'm doing, but if I can make it nice, I like to make it nice. I'm gonna turn on double because as of now, I can't see the inside at all. And so the other side, since there's no thickness, the other side's invisible. It only has one plane or one face. All right, I'm gonna mask the top. Usually I will just pull the whole thing down like this. I actually like that. I was gonna do a different design here, but in demonstrating, I found something I like better. So we're gonna do that instead. Yep, I like that. That's cool. I don't want all these stretch polygons because it's really hard to sculpt on and add detail. There we go. Ooh, that was a nice Z-remesh. See, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I don't like this little triangle business. I'd rather there would be another polygon here, but it's not the end of the world. Everything else looks quite nice. I'm going to scoot his thighs in. I usually don't do this. I always make sure to conform the clothes to the body, not the other way around. But his thighs are ruining the silhouette. Thick thighs, too thick. We're gonna smush them in. There we go. I'm very careful when I do stuff like that, because if you keep doing it, you end up with this really deformed body underneath. And if you try to you keep designing for that deformed body underneath, you get a really goofy looking model. It's almost like I have experience having done that. I'm gonna tighten the belt. So it's a lot of tiny adjustments I'm doing here, and in case you're wondering what I'm looking for, I'm not trying to make sure everything's perfectly straight or whatever. I'm always looking at the overall silhouette like this. So the reason I zoomed out is because it's easier for me to see that. For example, like to me there's a big difference in silhouette if his belt is sitting off like that or if it's tucked in like that. I like the more sleek look. I can make these a little bit skinnier now since it's not the only thing that's covering him up. Very nice. I like it. Let's add some detail to the skirt. The first thing I'm gonna do is add thickness. What I can do is I can just go to close holes, but I don't like how there's no thickness right here and it's a whole issue. I want it to be uniform. So what I'll do is I'll go to dynamic. I don't like it with smooth subdivs. I turn that to 0. Add a little bit of thickness, and I always make sure the offset is -100 because I just spend a lot of time making sure the silhouette looks a certain way. And if I don't have the offset to -100, it adds just as much material on top that it does on the bottom. I want it all on the bottom. So -100. So by converse, if you do +100, it'll add everything to the top. All right, there we are. I like that it has a lot of material right there, and I'll click apply. When you have dynamic turned on, it's a preview. It doesn't actually exist. Similar to in yesterday's stream, I was doing nano mesh. It didn't actually exist until I hit 1 to mesh. All right, now that that is done, I can go to ZModeler and add some more detail here. It's not really the line that I wanted it to take, so let's do it here instead. There we go. Right now I'm just kind of playing with lines and seeing what I like. Nothing too technical going on in my brain right now. A lot of the designs I do, it's really just me playing with stuff until I find something I like. Occasionally I'm working from a reference that I'm trying to replicate, but that's pretty rare. I really only do that when I'm doing an important commission. There we are. That's looking much more interesting. Ooh, I don't know what's going on with that topology. That's gonna be a problem. So we'll just mask it so it doesn't do that. Just don't go over there. There we are, and that looks much more interesting. I can hit crease and then divide, keeping all of our nice lines like usual. And then I'll go through here and I'll actually start adding some fabric folds. For fabric folds, I do them pretty quickly as well. I use standard brush with lazy around 30 to 40. And then I turn the intensity up decently high, usually around 40 as well. I will subdivide until I have enough to put nice creases in. Do a couple test strokes to see how it's affecting the mesh. Now look at the actual model with the pieces of clothing that he has to see like how is this going to interact or what look do I want here. think I want almost like a pleated look. So right now I'm using the standard brush, alternating with Alt turned on and Alt off. When I hold Alt, it takes away material, and when I don't hold anything, it adds material. And I put my hand up because I always have one hand on my keyboard doing all kinds of like shortcuts and hotkeys that affect the main button clicks that I'm doing with my pen. That's why when people ask me like, oh, like if I use like the iPad version, and I'm like, no, because there's not a keyboard and I use it constantly. There's little remotes and stuff. Like I'm using a Wacom tablet. I never know if it's Wacom or Wacom. WACOM tablet. And it comes with like a little remote you can use, but I just don't see the point of it for what I do. I just use a keyboard. Doing some softer fabric folds on the bottom here. Just so it doesn't look like a piece of metal. Also being careful not to actually like deform it too much. There we go, just to soften it up. All right, it's looking pretty good. So I didn't use crease on this, so when I hit subdivide, it actually rounded off the edges quite a bit. But in this case, I like that. I like that it looks a little bit more like fabric. I will lean into that even further by adding some fabric folds, like some cinching on the side. You'll see whenever I'm sculpting fabric that I do a lot of test strokes and like undo repeatedly. And that's because I want to make sure that the brush is interacting with the mesh exactly how I want it to. There we go. Corey asked, what is your thought process for adding details? Just strictly follow reference or go for a more, this might be cool sort of thing, or an in-between? Yeah, it's 100% like, this might be cool. This is probably pretty cool. As far as like following my references go and stuff, I mostly do references for good practice because I'm like, I don't know what this guy looks like exactly, so I need to check in to make sure I'm not straying too far. But I honestly don't use my references as much as I probably should. Taylor asked, why not use the ZBrush cloth simulation features? Oh, such a good question. Because I hate them. I like using them when it's for stuff that has true randomness to it, like simulating wind or drapery or that kind of stuff. But if I know how the fabric's gonna be interacting, like it's gonna be pinched up here, it's way faster for me just to do it myself. And also, the simulation works by having dynamic turned on, which means there's no thickness to the model or simulated thickness, and it can cause some problems. It's a really cool feature, but I find there's so much like poking and finessing with the cloth move brush and simulations, but by the time all is said and done, it's way faster if I just do it myself. That being said, I do use simulation for like dramatic, like cape flowing in the wind. We're actually gonna take a really quick detour here. Let me make sure this doesn't break my stream. There's a model that I used this on recently. This one. This should be showing for you guys. I simulated these capes and then I went through and manually added more detail because the simulation of this had pretty much no fine fabric folds. Same like this line here, like I added that trim and stuff. But the wind shape, I simulated and I used this button right here, cloth wind, to push it around. So yeah. This model is actually a collaboration project with Fool's Moon Entertainment. They have a really cool tarot pin backer, a campaign going right now. So if you Google Fool's Moon Entertainment, it'll come up. I really should have the link just saved somewhere, but I don't. But anyway, they're really cool and very lovely people to work with. Right now I'm triple checking that that actually showed. Good, it did. Okay, so using this application capture is solving more problems than it's causing. Very good, then I'll keep doing that. All right, back to horse. Good questions, guys. These are really solid. I definitely feel very spoiled by the chat sometimes. Like, you guys just ask fantastic questions. It's actually why I got burned out on, partly why I got burned out on live streaming a while ago. And by a while ago, I actually mean like a few years ago. I had a couple people that would join every stream and they would just annoy the bejesus out of me. And instead, but they weren't being like mean. They were just annoying. But I don't, me now would just, I would just silent ban them. I would just get rid of them. Just know if you're here, I like you. Like, I've gotten a lot better with not being overly polite at my own expense and comfort. And by annoying, I mean they would just ask me questions that really had nothing to do with like my art or what I was doing. Like, I would answer the same question about Blender like 100 times. I don't use Blender. And it's interesting to ask why I don't use Blender. Maybe once. But then I'll do more features and they're like, you could do that in Blender. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not. Oh, this story is coming out really goofy. I should have just gotten rid of them. I don't know. They weren't being actually mean, so I don't know. I haven't taken a break in a while. This is a nice little break. I'm still thinking about your question, Taylor, about why I don't use ZBrush simulation for fabric. I think the more comfortable I get with it, the more I will use it. As of now, the way that my skill set lines up, it's still easier to combo the two. But if I could one day just 100% simulation it, that'd be pretty cool. I would love if they'd improve the feature, but I would never know because I'm still in ZBrush 2022 because I refuse to pay another $900 to get an update. I'm very disappointed about the Maxon acquisition. I really am. Because I bought the lifetime license through Pixelogic, and then they got bought out by Maxon, and now they made it really expensive. They Adobe'd it. I hate that. If you're not familiar, Adobe products are on a subscription. You can't like just buy them, which I understand when there's like meaningful updates coming out, but there's not with ZBrush, so I don't know why they're so expensive. I'm gonna feel so embarrassed if like a Maxon developer watches this stream for some reason and just like, wow, that was harsh. Because I haven't fact checked that. They might have added a cool feature in the last year. I have not paid attention. But prior to that, for sure, I paid attention for the first 2 years after the acquisition and literally no improvements were made, so. Eh. All right. Good little break. Where are we at in this stream? Yesterday I streamed for like 3.5 hours. I took one 5-minute break. I'm gonna do a little better than that today. We're at 1:14. That's not bad. Taylor says, I use cloth sim. Let's see. Oh yeah, Corey said, that's what happened to me. I also haven't upgraded ZBrush because of that. Right? Okay, cool. I always like to be careful when I make strong statements like, oh, it's not worth it, it's stupid, if I haven't actually checked it recently, and I haven't. So technically I might be wrong, but I'm glad that you said that too. So it sounds like nothing's happened. Taylor said, I use cloth sims in Houdini, but I often do modify it to some degree. I imagine that still be the case in ZBrush too. That makes sense. Especially with having to make them 3D printable. Also very true. This is looking pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna add some really quick, like these little metal bracers to his ankles and his wrists. And then I'm gonna take a little break. But let's get some more good sculpting in first. So to do that, I do my little mask trick. And I can probably do these at the same time. I don't usually do that, but these are such simple pieces I'm making right now. I think I can do them at the same time. I extract 0 thickness, inflate a touch, zero mesh at half. I say all this stuff somewhat quickly because I've done it thousands of times. If you have questions though, don't feel like oh, it's so simple. You do this, 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 this. Like, feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to answer. These ones I will just use closed holes, which makes them completely solid. And I'll come in with the Z Modeler brush and add some trim. Corey says, oh, I missed it. There's someone new here. Bill Thornhill, welcome. I feel like I've seen your name before on here, but either way, thanks for being here. Bill says, the Maxon thing was such a betrayal to users. If they try and nerf us original users again, I may just switch to Blender and be done. Oh, that's about how I felt too. I tried to tone down the spiciness because I haven't checked in with them recently, but I was pretty mad. And I made the whole thread of like, I'm gonna get a Blender. And then I didn't because this is my livelihood. I don't really have a ton of time to pick up a brand new software. But hey, if there is a will, there is a way. And the will is increasing. Also, I like to teach. I really like to teach. And I kind of let it just drop off. Like, I don't update that Patreon. I take students more on the DL now because I don't like pushing them to like this super expensive subscription. They already have to pay for me to teach them. And on top of it, I think ZBrush is like $40 a month now. Like, ugh. Anyway, Corey says, I have no idea about 3D printing, but I assume you want things a little thicker because of that. You are correct. Because of like the cloth materials and such. Yep, you were spot on. Spot on. All right, let's add some trim pieces here. Yeah, I'm really not sure why Maxon had no regard for current like long-term ZBrush users. I just don't understand that. There was like no attempt at all to bridge that gap. And like, I'll pay for the updates if you make them what they're worth. So like $20. I mean, seriously, that's all it's really adding. The ooze bridge feature, I cannot stop harping on because it's so stupid and almost worthless. Like, I can sculpt that myself. You're not really saving that much time. Also, how often am I really sculpting ooze? What a weird thing to make a specialized thing for. Anyway. There was something else I wanted to talk about. And, oh, it's escaping me. All right, I went ahead and added those features. That was pretty darn quick. I'm happy with that. I'm not sure what I was gonna say. It's okay. I got hours to hang out with y'all. They'll come back to me. All right, let's add some decor to this belt. I just want to add like a simple gem. This is a brush that I bought, all these nice little ornaments. I want to just pick something that feels Egyptian-esque. Not a lot of these really feel that, but I really like them still. And that's okay. This isn't going in a museum of like Egyptian natural history, so it's okay if I have a little fun with it. At one point, I actually did do a Greek mythology project, and that one actually did quite a bit of research. When I was making the hoplites, I did arrange them in a way like that they're posed so that they do form a phalanx. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. Bill says, just greed. I'd pay for an update most of the time, but they're going to charge maybe $50. I refuse to do yet another subscription. Right? That's how I felt. And anyway, rant over. Hey, that was actually a very well-contained opinion. I wouldn't even call that a rant. That was pretty good. All right, what little doodad I want to add here? Oh, I kind of like this one. A little spooky looking. I like that one better though. And it matches the one that I put on Anubis a little better. I'm gonna flip that around. Very nice. All right, I need to start looking at what headpiece I'm gonna add. Thinking face. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I didn't save the one I made for Anubis because I did such a goofy job at structuring it. It had like broken polygons pretty much, so where there were like just holes and gaps in the middle, and that's because I used extrude or Q-mesh and by Polyloop with ZModeler brush before adding thickness, so it was a mess. I'm saying this out loud so I remember to not do that same mistake this time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this head. I'm going to Dynamesh it really low. And I'm just doing this because I'm using it as a base to then extract from. And the reason why I'm not extracting from this is because I don't want to get all the detail of all those little feathers. I don't actually need that. Here we go. So let's make him a little hat thing. But it looks so different in every reference I'm looking at. Okay. It looks somewhat like that, and then this piece can actually come pretty far forward. Fine with me. All right. He has a little hat now. Oh, I am not a fan of it right now, but that's okay. I just started it. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of like those like little nun hats. You know, the little like, not the nun hats, but like medieval fantasy of like the girl ladies that have like little like pointy things on their head. I don't know what they put in there. Anyway, we're not doing that. I'm gonna need to reshape his head a little bit, but I'm gonna leave his head alone for now, and I will create this drapery first. And if I find something that I really like, then I will reshape the head to match. All right, I need to rotate these in a little bit more, so I'll mask him, bring up the gizmo, transpose line, R to rotate. There we go. There'll be two flat pieces here, and then it'll come down in the back. This kind of kills me because I have so much nice like feather detail, but it's fine. Corey said, "Lol, you got me with the nun hat." Yes. I'm glad you think I'm funny. I think I'm hilarious, but I also have to listen to myself the whole time, so. Right now I'm looking at my references to see like how this thing like connects to his head. Okay. Like where is the structure for this thing? I think putting a sharp angle right here is gonna really help, and then I can keep that like bold, strong looking crest of the eagle. Yeah, I like that. Taylor says maybe the eye of Horus as a jewelry element. Oh goodness, is that a real thing? That sounds like I really need to add that pin. Oh, it came up immediately when I typed in eye. Oh, yeah, this thing. Yes. I will remember this. Maybe I'll just give him really cool like bird eyeliner too. A little, you know, squiggly. Okay, okay. All right, this shape is actually looking pretty strong and pretty cool. Yeah, I like it. And again, I'm gonna, all these feathers that are sticking through, I'm gonna tuck those in later. I'm being very, very careful with this right now because I'm trying to find the silhouette that I like the most. You'll hear me talk about silhouette a lot if you keep watching more streams because it's so, so important. Right now I'm trying to fix this goofiness. I got like this weird thing going on here, and then when I remesh, it just puts it on this side. Something that helps with that is you can do like a quick like group loops. It'll put a little border on the whole thing, and then zero mesh. It tends to help with that. But I'm just being stubborn. I feel like it'll work if I keep clicking on it. Gosh, sometimes saying your thought process out loud is humbling. You're like, that is dumb. Hey, look, it works. See, I was rewarded for being stubborn. Nice. I don't want to go any lower poly than that, though. We're getting a little brave here. I don't like how wobbly it is, but it's okay. I don't have any thickness with it right now, so I'll kind of leave it. All right, I'm gonna duplicate the head, and I'm going to smush, just as a backup to duplicate it, even though it's in my asset library still. We're gonna just trim him to fit. He doesn't have his fun little bird eyebrows now, though. I love his bird eyebrows. It's fine. Oh, he has no head now. There we go. I like that side silhouette a lot with that pulled forward. Not as crazy about the front silhouette, but let's be real. The front view is not an eagle's best view anyway. I didn't realize I never centered this, so it's been crooked the whole time. All right, that's fine. If you find out that your model is actually not on axis, there's a few things that you can do. I like to go to Deformation tab and then go to Unify. I use it so often, it's docked. And then I will mirror and weld, and I will rotate and squish it around until I get the result that I want. So I'm nudging it a little more center. That's a little better. There we go. Almost perfect. And now we will make him small again with symmetry turned on. Now it's perfectly symmetrical and centered. Oh, his little bird face is so funny from the front. So majestic from the side, though. All right. Taylor said, I actually like that bird eyebrows poking out. I agree. I think I'm going to keep them, like right here, these ones. Yeah. It makes his, front angle look a little better. He needs the help. Oh, there we go. I heard that little dying sound again. It is my AirPods. Now I have one that works and one that doesn't. Okay, we're gonna just take them out. It's kind of weird to have a little jam going in one ear but not the other. All right, I'll charge those later. All right, it's been a hot minute. If you're kind of lurking or not sure who I am or what I'm doing, my name is Mia. I'm part of M3DM. M3DM is run by me and my husband, and we make 3D printable miniatures for a living. So if you play Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, even some Warhammer stuff, that's what we do. The models that I'm making is completely determined by Patreon supporters. So if you want to tell me what to sculpt, go onto Patreon, check out the legendary tier, and you can submit a request. And if you want that request to get made immediately, I actually have priority tickets for sale in my shop, and you could determine what model I am sculpting tomorrow. So yeah. And it comes with the 3D printable file, as well as my other 800 plus 3D printable files. Been doing this for a while. Started this in 2020 full time. I started learning how to sculpt in 2019. Corey says, I think it's mainly the beak view, much more majestic from the side. Front view can seem squashed. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the same way when sculpting horses too. It's especially the same way. Horses look very funny from the front. Here we go. I'll just make sure that when I pose him, whatever like his best angle or alpha shot is, he's looking at the camera to the side, like this. I'm gonna puff out his chest a little more too. Yeah, I really like his side silhouette. All right, looking good. And then Taylor mentioned, I think that's partly the orthographic view, which means no perspective. I actually do have perspective turned on. He looks even worse without it. So this is with, this is without. Yeah, that's how we usually have perspective turned on. All right, I've been fussing with this for a while. It's been kind of like a mental break for me, but I can still hang out with you guys. I'm gonna actually get in here and making some commitments to some shapes. That was a funny way to say that. Making some commitments. Okay. I think it's the same way I tell my students. I'm like, sculpt with confidence. Like, pick a shape. All right. I do want to see if I can... I'm going to push around this shape a little bit from the front to see if I can find one that I like. Some of these references I have up have like big gems on the side. It kind of reminds me of like that really cute like anime like hairstyle where there's like little like space donuts. Like I'm thinking almost Princess Leia-esque. So I don't want it to look like that, but something would be cool there. All right, we have good topology around the sides. I'm gonna go to dynamic, smooth subdiv to 0 to preserve my silhouette, and then add thickness at -100. I always fly through those steps. If you have questions, ask. I'm happy to answer. So now if I do crease and then polish, it should look, yeah, see that? That's pretty nice. Good job, polish. He looks mean. Good. Not trying to make a cute bird man. He's already uncomfortably muscly. Just gonna leave that at that. I like pulling this line down a bit because it elongates the neck. I tend to sculpt my models with unusually long necks, and once you see it, you probably can't unsee it. It makes the silhouette read more clearly, and it also makes their little faces, in my opinion, print a little better because they're not so smushed together. All right, let's add some trim to this, and I think it's gonna be like layering stripes is how I'm gonna do this. I like that. I don't like that. Just kind of trying to figure out how I'm gonna build this. Scoot. Yeah, I like having this little crown following his little bird eyebrows. I do need to tuck this in as much as possible. I'm gonna delete my backup head because I'm pretty committed to this shape right here, and I'm happy with how it's turned out. Very cool. Corey says, how are you pulling all those faces out at the same time? Probably through my ridiculous niche use of the move brush. I've joked before that I could probably sculpt an entire model with a move brush. I'm like a move master. One of the tricks that I do that might be what you're talking about, because you should be able to just grab the move brush and move like this. As far as like moving things out, strangely, I'm holding Option on my keyboard, which I'm pretty sure is Alt on Windows. And what that does is it inverts the brush, which is kind of odd because usually that's used in the context of adding or removing material. So let me show you. For the standard brush, here is just the normal standard brush. So if I use Alt, it's going to be the inverse, so it'll subtract material. So here's your two examples. The move brush is kind of odd to have an opposite, right? Because this is move, it just moves. But if you hold Alt, it will pull towards the camera. See? Pretty nifty. So that's probably what I'm doing. If you're like, no, that's not my answer at all, just ask the question again, but slightly different, and you'll probably get a slightly different answer. Right now I'm trying to play with like this like stripe effect. I'm not sure how I want to do it. I really wish I had one more polygon right there, but I don't. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I'm not that good at the move brush. Not move brush, Z-modeler brush. You can go to extrude, poly loop, mask right here because I don't want it to mask that piece. Can I just select the red part? It's like glitching out. It does not like that I'm doing that. There we go. That's more so what I was trying to do. Okay, I'm happy with that largely. And then I want to see about adding these like stripes on the back of the head like I mentioned earlier. I might add those differently. I'm thinking of the best way to add them. I like that. Let's see how it responds with crease and polish. Yep, I like that too. This is definitely more of a free form, just kind of playing with it. I'm letting these overlaps happen, these little boxes form. I think it's adding some really cool visual interest to this little head thing. Probably not going to add too much more. I really like these tabs right here, and I think that's what's really making this headset read well. So I'm gonna make them larger and pass the collar I have on him. There we are. Very nice. Corey said, kind of half answered. Maybe my question is more of how did you select just those polygons to move out? Like how did the border edges of the cap, and you did the same thing on the bracers? Oh, yes, that's the ZModeler brush. So I have this pretty low poly like this, and using the ZModeler brush when you're in this wireframe view, if you hover over a polygon and press spacebar, you have all these options of operations you can do. So if I hit extrude and poly loop, it will extrude whatever poly loop I ask for. Also, I'm gonna zoom in a ton right here to, hopefully you guys can see this. There's a little orange line that's facing up right now. And now it's facing this way, up this way. That determines what direction which poly loop I'm picking. So if I'm going up, it's gonna be that line. If I'm going to the side, it'll be that one. I think that's the tool that you were asking about. If not, you learned something else. You might have to be a ZBrush master by the time I'm done answering the questions wrong, but you're gonna learn a lot. And Corey mentioned, maybe I don't know what I'm asking. That's totally okay, because I just like showing people stuff. Oh, he's looking cool. I'm gonna go ahead and import the same staff that I used for Anubis. You know, I actually don't know if I have that staff, and I want to use a different head token. Master tools, weapons. Here are all the weapons I have saved. Definitely not all the weapons I've made, but these are the ones I felt like were at least worth saving. This is the base I was thinking about. Corey said, yes. Okay, awesome. Thanks. Looked like magic to me. Super cool. It feels like magic to me, especially because I'm not great at the ZModeler brush. It took me a long time just to be able to do that, and that's considered the basics. So yeah. All right, we got kind of a staff going on here too. N says, that was really informative, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I also think that you're new, so hello and welcome. Name under that also looks new. Hello and welcome. Love seeing new people on here, it just gives me energy. Obviously, I love my returners as well. K9 says, looking great. If you mess around with Nomad much. I've been an avid ZBrush user for a long time, but Nomad's becoming my best friend. You know, is that one that's free or like almost free? I think I downloaded it on my iPad just to play around with. And yeah, it's a good time. I like using it for kind of like study. So I don't like using it when I have to organize this many subtools and pieces. But if I just want to work on one subtool and practice like sculpting a piece of fur or a certain texture, it's a really good time. Here we go. Awesome. I'm really happy with this so far. I'll probably take a break pretty soon here. Just like 5 minutes or so. Yesterday I did like a 3.5 hour stream and I took 1 5-minute break. I was also having a mental crisis over the model I was making. It kicked my butt, but I did finish it on stream. It came out fantastic. K9 said, it's like 20 bucks on iPad, one-time purchase. Yes, I do have that and it is cool. You said working on it feels so natural. I could see that. I mean, for me, it doesn't feel as natural because I am chained to my keyboard. I use so many hotkeys all the time and I can't not have them. It feels like being blind almost to me. But yeah, it is a really cool software. And speaking of anyone's like kind of thinking about playing around with learning how to sculpt and stuff, you should check out Nomad. It's really cool and it's a one-time purchase. Again, I do teach, if you do want to learn how to use ZBrush and you're okay with paying for ZBrush, I think I am a fantastic value. I'd be super happy to teach you. I actually have an entire secret library of video tutorials I don't publish on YouTube. I might as well at this point, but I actually hoard them for my students only. So I've provided, gosh, I have dozens of videos and tutorials on how to do things, and that's what I use in my mentorship program for my students. So yes. But if you're not interested in learning how to sculpt and you are just cool and you want to either have stuff to 3D print or you just want to support me, I'm going to put my Patreon in the link too. That's the reason why I'm able to do this full time. And that's why I'm making the model I am right now, because I work through requests. I'm thinking about making a tier on Patreon that's specific for stream supporters, because I know a lot of you guys don't have a 3D printer, and I don't know. Let me know what I can spoil you guys with, like what you guys want, because I've been thinking of different like little things I can do for y'all that aren't involving 3D printing, just hanging out on the stream, and like maybe like custom votes, access, that kind of stuff. I'm toying with it. Paul's here. Hey, he says, Mia's library is wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, Cyber Surfer. Yeah, I recognize your username. You've been a supporter for a super long time. You rock. I'm always surprised at how many people's names I actually remember. There's a good amount of people on Patreon that have supported me for years, and I still remember their name every time I see it. I've always been a name person. I don't want to say that too boldly on stream, because then if someone comes back and I don't recognize them, I would feel terrible. But for the most part, I'm pretty good with names. Also, if you're hanging out and you're lurking and you're not a commenter, just know that you are my people. I am you. I don't comment. I'm not a chat person. If I'm not the person making the content, I am silent. So just know that I see all the lurkers as well, and I super appreciate you. You're my people. And says, I just got a 3D printer, so finding your stuff today is really neat. That's perfect. You should absolutely, it's $5, or no, it's $7 now. It's $7 a month. You can just join for a month. You get access to all 800 of my 3D printable models. And if you have problems, you can complain at me at the Discord and I will help you. That's kind of what we do. I say I will help you, but honestly, my community is like so on top of that. They will probably help you before I even get to you. But I do check it every single day. I just have to brag about my community too, because they rock. You know, I didn't think about that. At the very least, yeah, you can join. I have a bunch of free options too, because Patreon has a free community button, and I have a Discord. If any of you guys are interested in that, I can put the Discord in the link, invite link in the description, or not description. I can put the Discord invite in the chat if you're interested in that. I'm just not sure if any of you guys use Discord. I know it's kind of like hit or miss. People that do use Discord use it all the time. And says, oh my geez, sweet, I will be checking it out. Sounds good. I feel good bragging about that because honestly, not many people offer stuff the way I do. I do have a My Mini Factory where I sell each model for $3. So you can do the math on that. $3 times 800, what is that, $2,400? So that's why I just like doing Patreon. $7, you get everything. Technically, it's not lifetime access, but if you have the patience to download everything, you could. Obviously, I recommend sticking around because it keeps me employed. But I support I appreciate the support either way. Okay, I need to take a break. I need to drink some water. If you guys have any questions, I'll be back in like 5 minutes, so feel free to put questions in the chat and I'll come back and I'll answer them. This guy will be finished today, and I will be sharing the 3D printable files for him for free for all people that join the stream. I'll just put it Discord, a Google Drive link will just be in the chat at the very, very end. So if you're hanging out now, if you can't watch the whole stream, just jump back in like an hour and you probably swoop and get those files for free. All right, I'll be back. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hello and welcome back. I am now rehydrated and feeling a little more fresh. I'm actually going to remove Anubis from the background because I actually have, even though he does look fantastic, I have a pretty cool Horus going on right now. So I'm going to pin him instead. And I'm happy these models look very, like, more as distinct as I was hoping they'd look. All right. We're gonna go ahead and pin him up here so that way people that kind of just jump into the stream can see what's going on roughly, because I tend to work very zoomed in. It's a habit I've tried to break, but it's just who I am. All right, there we go. I'm also gonna start moving this detailed jewel that I have in a few more areas. I really like Taylor's idea of the Eye of Horus, but I'm just not going to do it. I don't really have a super good reason for why I'm not going to. Too much work. And this looks so good already. Do you guys have any fun plans for Halloween? My neighbors have a bonfire going on with their church, so I'll probably help out with that. That's this Sunday, so not Halloween, but it's all in Halloween festivities. For actual Halloween day, Dragon Age Veilguard's coming out, and I'm losing my mind over it. So that's what I will be doing at noon on Friday. Is it on Friday? For Halloween, kind of just assumed. If Veilguard's coming out on a weekday, I'm not streaming. Oh yeah, no, it's coming out on Thursday. I will not be here next Thursday because of my game. Maybe I'll do an earlier stream because I do like keeping to a schedule. Especially because I just set up this schedule. I've been doing it for a few days and I'm proud of that. But Veilguard's a big deal. Guys, I've been waiting for this game for more than 10 years. No exaggeration. Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014. It was actually the same year that my husband and I started dating. And says, I work, but we get to dress up for fun, so I'll be a Mothman serving coffee. Wow, I love that. That is so fun. Also, like, a Mothman costume. I haven't seen that in a long time. How freaking cool. I didn't think about dressing up. I usually just kind of piece something together last minute. It's one of those things, like, if I had... It's very much like a throwaway money thing to me. I usually have a lot of things that I'm looking forward to buying, so Halloween costumes just don't make the cut usually. All right, I like that little detail a lot. And mirror and weld it. Yeah, that's nice. I'll do the same thing on other parts of the model. Corey says, trying to decide if I'm gonna go visit my sister or not for the holiday this year. Yeah, that could be a hard decision. I'm not really gonna see family this year for the holidays, and that's kind of a hard one for me. So I always spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with my dad. I've done that every single year since I existed. I'll be 27, or I'll be turning 28 this year in December. Yeah, I have a December birthday. Yeah, at least it's in the middle, so it's not as bad. My housemate's birthday is the day after Christmas. Yeah, it's okay. He's not a big holiday guy, but anyway, I moved across the country this year. I grew up my entire life in California in the Valley, and I moved to Tennessee. So driving home for the holidays is not really an option. If you're not familiar with like United States geography or you don't live here, to drive from Tennessee to California takes days. I know because I did it to move here. It took us about 4 days. I think it's 46 hours of driving. So not exactly a day trip. I do have family in Ohio, so that's nice. I can drive up there and see them, but I am a little sad about probably not seeing my dad this year for the holidays. But ultimately, I'm happy that I branched out and I'm trying something new. Living in the South is a lot different than living in California, I'll tell you that. But I actually think I fit in here really well, and I've been having a great time. It's been better than I could hope, honestly. This is not bent enough. There we go. These little gem details are going to catch paint so well. Looking forward to them. ZBrush. ZBrush crashed. In case you're like, ooh, the screen's black. I'm like, that's why, because ZBrush just took a dump. That's okay. It only does this when I stream, but I don't mind too much. That's why I save obsessively. All right, it's back up for me. If the screen is still black for you, just let me know, and then I'll do my little resync with my application. It looks like it's gonna work, no problem. All right, yeah, I didn't lose like any progress, so no big deal. If you are a ZBrush user, I highly recommend turning your quick saves to every 3 minutes like me. And I'm sure you're like, that seems excessive. It is not. My husband is so funny. He's just like, your program is so unstable. Why do you use it? And I'm like, it's, I get all defensive with ZBrush. I'm like, it's not, it's fine. It's just a little sensitive. It usually just means I was clicking too fast. It's very sensitive. K9 says, I think ZBrush crashes on me 95% of the time I use a knife curve brush. Oh, don't even put that brush name in the chat. You're gonna crash my program. I know what you're talking about. If I even think about the knife brush too much, it makes ZBrush crash. I never use it. And I'm so sad because when they added it in an update when Pixelogic still owned them, I was like, wow, this is so cool. Because in the demo, they don't show it crashing, obviously, but it's absolutely not functional. The knife brush does succeed if you're working with like 5 polygons, but God forbid you have more than 1,000. It will crash. We have quite a different spread of people watching today. So we have someone that just got a 3D printer, which is, by the way, welcome to 3D printing. It's a learning curve. You're gonna be learning a lot. If you're not a tinkerer, it might be a little frustrating, but just know that there are resources and people that are willing to help. We have people that use Houdini. We have people that do this professionally with some nomad sculptors. Like, it's just really cool. It's a really nice little spread of people that are hanging out today. Everyone that is hanging out, I highly encourage you to subscribe so we can still hang out. Also, I did go through the effort of adding like fun little alerts that are supposed to pop up on the screen if you subscribe. If it has been happening, I'm so sorry if I missed you. I don't have it in front of me enough where I can tell. But there should be a fun little effect that happens. K9 says, it's gotten better in 2025. As much as I hate paying for monthly sub versus my 2022 perpetual. I have 2022 perpetual. I feel like I'm missing out if the update did do anything. I just can't pay. I have the 2022 perpetual, and I can't believe they don't give us like a discounted rate. Or they might. They gave you like $10 off of like $800 purchase. Insulting. I will not consider it. Oh, just thinking about it makes me want to switch to Blender. I won't though. I'm all talk. I like these little details. I also have these little skirt attachments from Anubis that I kind of left here. I think it might add for a really nice layering effect. I know I did a good job constructing my model when adding details happens just so naturally. That's how you know you did a good job, like building a really strong base. Always focus on your primary forms first. Once you're happy with them, you can move on to your secondary and tertiary. And in case you're like, that was nonsense, primary just meaning your biggest forms, secondary your medium, and then tertiary is like, think like fine details, like strands of hair, skin pores, that kind of thing. I also grabbed this thing that I made from my asset library a long time ago. It just has a lot of really good texture and gems on it, like not gems, but it almost feels like metallic. I think I'm gonna put it right here. I don't want to add too much more detail though, because I don't want him looking too ornate compared to Anubis. Kanan says, I have the ZBrush logo on my forearm. I'm stuck with it for life now. No kidding. Oh my gosh, how fun is that? It's a pretty good logo too, so of all things to have, that's not a bad tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. I have a lot of piercings, which I don't have any of my earrings in. At one point, I have 3 on both sides. I have 3 here, 6. And I did have 2 cartilage piercings on one side and 3 on the other. That was it. I pierced my ears. That's it. I wasn't ever interested in anything on my face. I'm too much of a face rubber. Like, I have a hard enough time keeping my makeup where I want it to be. I could not add piercings into that. Look how fancy this is looking, guys. Yeah, a little bit of detail goes a long way, doesn't it? I'm still really torn on wings. I really want to give him wings. He doesn't have wings just because he's an eagle deity. But wings are cooler than not wings. Maybe once I have a pose done, I'll kind of decide. You know, I haven't even really thought about what the pose is going to be. I want it to be very similar to Anubis, just because, you know, in like hieroglyphics, they have that really stiff, very eye-catching stance. So, Hans says, hello. I have 1 tattoo, ruler on my left arm, functional upgrade. Adam Savage's ruler, but customized a bit. I was just going to say that. I'm like, oh, like Adam Savage. Very, very cool. Somebody mentioned Adam Savage, so it's now time to bring up that one time one of my models was printed and shown on that YouTube channel. It's like one of my crowning achievements. I work for myself, so I have no reason to build a resume, but if I did, I would find a way to list on my resume that one of my prints was on Adam Savage's YouTube channel. It was my Chinese dragon, and I still find that just like the coolest thing ever, because who doesn't love Adam Savage? I mean, come on. I grew up watching Mythbusters, and it was definitely like a full circle moment for me where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm really a professional. I really do this. It's so freaking cool. I see some new people are kind of jumping in the stream. If you have any questions, let me know. My name is Mia. I sculpt tabletop minis for a living. So I sculpt them in here and then I 3D print them. Some people ask if I have like a shop where I sell prints. I used to do it on Etsy. I don't do it anymore. I just provide the files. I do have merchants on Etsy that sell my stuff, like actual physical prints. Corey says, you could do something like adding feathers or something to the side of his skirt flaps to tie in the eagle theme. I mean, wings also work. Huh. I like that idea. We're gonna play with that a little bit. My only concern is having some feathers on him, making him look almost more tribal. But that's okay. I mean, he's Egyptian. It's not. There are some similarities there. There's just more metal. Okay, first, let's tack in some wings. Let's see what we can do with that. I would do it like this structure. Maybe I'll have you guys vote on it. I'll tack some wings on and let me know what you guys are thinking. Again, the actual god does not have wings, but it's cool. I mean, he's half bird. I guess he's a lot less than half bird, let's be real. He's like 10% bird. It's fine. What if I gave him fairy wings? Jokes. Every time I import this wing, I forget I have this like backwards curve on it. It's supposed to curve the other way. But I fix it manually every single time instead of updating my file. It is what it is. Oh, don't blur on this. It's because it doesn't like my lighting. I'm not kidding, I googled it and it mentioned like, oh, it's because you have bad lighting, and I think it's just because I'm really pale, and so I'm like a white spot. Oh my goodness. It's fine. That's about what I look like, you know? And in case you're like, oh, I don't even think like you're that pale. This is probably the most tan I've been my entire life. And I'm very proud of that. I spent a lot of time outside this year. For any like new viewers, I'm really big into horseback riding. I have a horse. I have one horse, which means that when he is sound and there's no health issues, I ride. But if you've been around horses, you know there's usually problems. And it's not very nice to ride them when they're not feeling well. I don't compete or anything like that. He's pretty much one step above Pasture Puff. Pasture Puff is just like a affectionate name for a horse that just sits there and burns hay all day and doesn't have a job. I mean, at one point he did have a job. He is a off-track racehorse. He was very fast in Ireland, and they shipped him all the way to California to race in Arcadia. He wasn't very fast, so he got immediately retired and then left in Oregon for a while. Ended up in Madera, California, and then I bought him. And ever since, he has been babied and loved on since. I mean, for the most part. I mean, when he needs a good butt kicking, he gets a good butt kicking. That's part of the relationship. Something I love about horses, too. It's like, you can have dogs, you don't have to be a dog trainer, but with horses, they're so big and inherently dangerous. Like, you gotta know what you're doing, at least a little bit. It's not like the movies where you whisper to them and you're really nice, and then one day you have a connection or a bond. It's not really like that. It's a lot less cute. It involves a lot more running. All right, I think it's gonna be wings, guys. It just looks too cool. Like Corey mentioned, I didn't think about the tribal angle, right? I think that could be good or bad, you know? It can kind of work either way. What I'm most likely gonna do is I'm gonna make the winged version the official, but I will provide an option that does not have wings attached, just in case someone's actually running a pretty true, you know, like Egyptian mythology campaign, and they're like, you know. It's kind of the same way like in D&D, like Dragonborn don't have tails or wings, I'm pretty sure. They for sure don't have wings, but I usually give them wings because it's cool. Like if I'm gonna play as a Dragonborn, like I want to be a humanoid dragon with the wings, with it all. I think that's one of the first mods I saw added to Baldur's Gate was that the Dragonborn have wings. Let me know what you guys think of in the chat of the wings, because I think they look really, really cool. And if you don't say anything, I'm just going to take it as they're amazing. And yeah, I'm going to take it as you all agree with me. God, he's so cool looking. I love it. See, this is how my streams usually go. If you tuned into my stream yesterday, you'd watch me have an artistic breakdown, which is not my usual. I sculpted a pangolin, and boy did it take every creative ounce fiber that I had. I have that stream published if you want to click through it. The beginning of it's like a jump scare, but it really comes together. And says they look awesome. Thank you, I agree. K9 says, I'm pretty new here. Seeing your live stream last night, I think, and subbed. Thank you. So you did see the mental breakdown. I'm just kidding, artistic breakdown. Do you start from a base you made from most of your work, or do you start from scratch on most? Or a bit of both? It's a bit of both. So I'm not sure if you joined the beginning of last night's stream, or yesterday's day stream. I guess you're a different time zone. I'm 11 a.m. EST is when I start, so Eastern time. But I sculpted yesterday's model from a sphere. So like real classic, everything is done from scratch. For the most part, I do use my asset library of things I've already sculpted before. Like I don't sculpt a body from scratch every time or ever. I find that arms generally look quite arm-like, so I will just take my base mesh and modify as needed. Mahir says, I don't love the wings. Oh, but they're cool. Oh my gosh, Mahir, you haven't been here in so long. Welcome. You're one of the old-time people. Corey says, the wings are nice. I love the wings. I think it's really cool. For people that are running, again, a more purist, like, Egyptian campaign, I will have a non-wing option. But just know that you picked the less cool option. All right, I think it's time to get a pose here. I'm gonna start, so before I start posing, I kind of merge and clean things up. These pieces are all gonna move together, like this whole belt piece, so I'm gonna have all that merged. I know that this is gonna move with this piece, so I'll merge those down as well. I just do this because it makes things a little easier to keep track of. Even though Transpose Master by default merges all your subtools anyway, once I'm out of Transpose Master, I just find this a little easier. There we are. All that is one piece now. That looks good, that looks good. I do not want these together, actually. I want the forearms separate from the ankles. There we go. Looking good. Corey says, but I'm definitely for the idea of providing both, right? With and without wings and letting people choose. I like having the option. Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my reference here. It's kind of just like a soft, like a hooked shape that I've seen. Yeah. I don't think I have anything that will work with this, so I'll just make it from scratch. K9 says, I need to get into mini sculpting. I work full-time doing game art. Oh, very cool. The technical side of things gets so tedious, but I'm about over retopo for the day. Oh my god, yeah, retopologizing is something that I do not have to do. It's still nice to work with clean topology, kind of saw it earlier with like modeling, but I don't have to retopologize because I don't rig anything and I pose things once, generally speaking. Also, at the end, all I do is smear everything together and make it watertight, so I just destroy all the topology anyway to prep it for 3D printing. All right, we're gonna make this little shape thing. I'm gonna flatten this. Gonna Z-remesh a bunch. There we go. That's about the shape I'm seeing. Let's go ahead and tack it onto the staff and kind of see what we're looking at. Yeah, it's pretty close to the picture I have up. Again, it's a hieroglyphic, so it's not terribly detailed. It's just a little line with another line on it. I'm actually gonna save really quick because I feel like I've gotten a lot of progress done. interesting. That's not separating by auto groups anymore. Surprised by that. There we go. Got kind of an interesting little staff head now. Getting pretty close to doing the pose here, and after I'm done with the pose, I'll get it all ready for 3D printing, and I'll be sharing those files with you guys for free. Right now I'm going to import a hand that's kind of like holding something. That's definitely something I don't feel the need to sculpt from scratch every time. Got a bunch of different hands right here. I'm going to go with the fist actually because it's a pretty narrow staff. I don't want any gaps. And that's also for a 3D printing reason. Which means I do not need to keep the nails on both sides. So I'm actually going to delete them on that side. I might put one nail on this because you'll still see the thumb, but that's it. The easiest way that I find to line up hands is just to find where the first row, like the knuckles are right here. And there you go. It's also much easier to do this in blend seams when you have something around the wrist. You'll find that a lot of my models tend to have decorations right there, mostly for design reasons, but it does have a small functional purpose. I'll turn off, whatchamacallit? Symmetry. And then I will squish this hand down, kind of like if you saw the beginning of the stream, you'll saw I squished the head like this too. And the reason why I do it like that is because it's faster to do that than to delete subdivision levels, delete part of the mesh, and reconstruct subdiv. I still have all my subdivision levels, and it was really quick. All right, I think we're all ready to pose. The wings are at 200,000 points and they really don't need to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and decimate these down. Not too far because I might still do a little bit of posing with them, just like a soft bend. If you try to pose things or move things around that don't have very many points, you get this very like pixelated look to it. All right, I'm just checking all my subtools. Everything looks pretty good. This one's a little high poly. Before I decimate it, I do want to at least subdivide this gem once So it's not keeping all of those hard polygon lines. There we go. Corey said, ah yes, I remember the mini head squish. Yeah, you've been around for a few hours now, like the whole stream. Thanks for hanging out. All right, this is looking really good. I bet you I can bring this down to a quarter of the size. So I'm going from 440,000 points, or 26, down to 100. Yep, looks pretty much the same. This is the before, this is the after. Sweet. I'm gonna go ahead and merge the head to this little hat thing that I made him, because those should move together. All right, let's finally pose. I'm going to replace this stamp with our updated one. There we go. And let's move into Transpose Master. Turning off perspective, I find it easier and everything is a little square. And I generally like to pose things from the feet up. That's been my newest method of doing it. I do kind of change it up every now and then though. Right now I'm using the transpose line because I find it a little faster to get some nice bends in. There we are. And right here I can see that one leg is slightly shorter than the others, but I won't worry about really fixing all of that until I'm more confident where the pose is gonna go. Corey said, no worries, it's been a long time since I dropped by last. I came in to say hello again, show some support. Oh my goodness, I remember who you are now. Yep, you are not new. You've been around a long, long, long time. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming back and saying hi. It kind of clicked all at once for me. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Very cool. Man, it has been a hot minute. I hope you've been doing good. All right, we got a little more of a stance on him. So let's go ahead and fit these other pieces. So right now, just kind of like a lot of really careful and thoughtful moving of each of these pieces. But I'm not worried about being absolutely perfect right now because the pose is going to be like a very fluid work in progress. Dumb gnat. There we go. There we are. And now I'm actually going to tilt this even further. I love using belts to exaggerate hip movement. Now I'm going to hide all of that. And let's start rotating the hips. So he's taking a step forward. So I'm going to want to pitch his hips, rotate that way. I also like putting a small back bend too, because they kind of puff out their chest. Looks a little more fun. Taylor said, I'd love to see you sculpt Medusa. I think that'd be fantastic. I do have a Medusa, but she's very old and she's not with my current skill set at all. That'd be fantastic. I would love to do that. All right, doing that little hip posing made his belt fall off a little bit. We're getting a little saucy. Let's get less saucy. I had an English teacher that would say things were saucy instead of sexy, and it stuck with me forever, and now I say it too. That was an English teacher all the way back in high school. I never kept in touch with any of my old teachers, but I'm friends with one of them or two of them on Facebook, and I will occasionally stalk them on Facebook just to see how they're doing and make sure, I want to know if they're doing good. But I don't check in though. I don't know. I got limited social spoons, Looking pretty cool. Still stiff and weird, but we're getting there. There we go. It's really important when you're posing that you're careful with your selections and where you're rotating your pivot points. I'm doing it really quickly because I've moved an arm, shoulder like 1,000 times. But I'm being very intentional. Like right here, I made sure to mask right to the deltoid line, that crease. I'm not gonna cut it halfway through his bicep. I say it like it's common sense now, but I say it like that because I made that mistake many, many times, and then I would wonder why everything looked so silly. Posing was the bane of my existence for a very long time. Posing itself is not difficult, but if your fundamentals are weak, it's going to be very difficult and you're going to have a very hard time. And let's be real, we're all working on our fundamentals kind of all the time. And as you learn new things, you're going to be coming back to it with fresh eyes. Friendly reminder that we do not talk about elbows in this stream. I will deal with it later. Or maybe I won't. Get over there, dumb elbow. ZBrush. K9 said, anatomy is still the bane of my existence. Right, the whole existence. I was not in the mood for a crash. Sometimes I'm really cool about it. I'm ooh, no big deal. I lost 2 seconds. But I was on a flow. I had things I was doing. Whatever. And we're back. Well, I make it a rule that if I ever have a crash and I have to do the same thing I just did, I have to do it better the next time. Because it's I have, superpowers now. I've seen that future. So I'm going to correct what I did. I thought it was coming out pretty stiff still. So instead, I'm actually going to rotate and I'm going to pick an alpha shot to work from right now. And then pose the arm to fit around that. Like this leg right here feels like it's too sucked back. So I'm gonna fix that. Putting a wider stance on him is going to make him look more powerful, more, you know, more worshipable. You want to be worshipable? Worshipable. Worshipable. Have a wide stance. What is it? What is it called? A power stance. Corey said, I've been alright. Put some sculpting journey on pause. Yeah, it happens. Until some other changes are made. Real life stuff happens, you know, but it's always fun to visit and see some cool sculpts. Yeah, well, I'm glad you think so. All right, we need to pull that knee in a bit. Be very careful if you're posing and you just start smushing stuff around with the move brush. I do it because I'm a professional ZBrush smusher, but this is a really good way to jack up your anatomy and your sculpt. Get his little concave butt. Worshipable. I always like to kind of check my floor by using the mask brush, because even though it looks about right, it's nice to actually check it with a hard line. There we go. Looking a little better. It's pretty rare that I will shorten a leg to match. Usually I'll just lengthen the other one to match, but in this case, his legs are so long. They're so ridiculous already. We're like really pushing Slender Man proportions here. That's a little better. Gonna give a nice side silhouette for this eagle because we've already talked about how that's a much better angle for him. This arm is looking so stiff. I would like to soften this up just a little bit. I mean, I want him to look poised still, don't get me wrong. He's definitely not just like chilling. He's looking tough and frightening. Man, why did these claws get all goofed up? That just means that there was a tiny mask on them that I didn't see when I was moving something else. Dude, there, it's fixed-ish. Okay, you can zoom out, ZBrush. Come on, there you go. All right, we're gonna rotate this elbow in. For 3D print, Corey asked, for 3D printing, do you add a base for him to stand on or anything like this? Yes, sir, I sure do. I have an entire end ZPR that I open up and put bases on, and then mesh mixer. So all the files I offer on Patreon, all 800 plus of them, all have bases. They also have a no base version, so it's a little easier for people to paint. And you can rescale them to whatever size you want in case you want to have a statue instead of a 28mm playing figurine. Kanon says, I've been working on my own little original character. I primarily do stylized work. Ooh, I love me some good stylized work. But it's for a small game project I'm doing on the side. The character is an old man who's a butcher, but his proportions are wild so far. Oh, that sounds fun. God, I love sculpting old people and monsters, which I know sounds really insensitive to say side by side. I am implying a small overlap. Wrinkles are fun. That's all I'm trying to say. Not that old people are monsters. I guess it depends on the old person. I mean, I feel like we've all met a scary old person before. Something that I find that makes poses look less stiff is getting those elbows to their sides. By default, since I'm posing from like an A-frame, they get real like floaty elbow. It's like no one walks around like that. Put your elbows down. It's kind of the same thing with horseback riding too. It's like loosen up. Bring your frame in. They may or may not go together, Canine says. I think it's funny that I'm only saying the first of saying canines of K9T. Because canine, it's like I'm calling you a dog. Like, fancy dog, canine, you know. Maybe I'll start saying K9T. All right. Scoot that elbow down. Yeah, Corey says it definitely depends. K9T says, my daughter, who's 3, very cool, has recently been sculpting with me when I sculpt my iPad on the couch, and she's going to be a force. I hope to get this started early. Oh, that's fantastic. I love hearing that. I mean, I just love hearing people share their passions with their children. I just think that's beautiful. I do. I'm still at that age when I tell people that I never want to have kids. They're like, oh, maybe you'll change your mind. But as I get closer to 30, I notice that people are like, oh my gosh, you're really not going to have children, are you? And I'm like, no. No, I am not. Luckily, my dad knew that very early on. He was like, you never seem interested. Even as like a little girl, you never wanted like baby dolls or anything like that. And I'm like, nope. Some people have some real deep meanings for not wanting children. I hear like, who would want to bring children into this world all the time? Which is very dramatic, I think. But no, I don't have any reasons like that. I just don't want children. K9T says, I don't mind canine. Well, I'm going to say canine. I used to train them for a living. That's why the name's that. Oh, perfect. I'm so glad. Okay, excellent. That actually fits together. As soon as I said it's like I'm calling you a dog, I was like, oh, I can't do that. But you said it's fine, so I'm fine with it. That's so cool. You used to train dogs. Oh, man. You know, it's funny. I can do a lot with horses. I'm a terrible dog trainer, though. I'll tell you that. I really am. I have a pug, so he's not really bred to do much except for warm feet, so it's been pretty easy. Growing up with my shepherds, I think I guess I'm very consistent. So even though I'm not a good dog trainer, I always meant the same thing and always meant the same thing the first time. Like if I say sit, I mean sit now, not sit 5 times in a row. Like I mean it now. Which I guess makes me a little harsh sometimes. That's okay. My husband texted me. We don't eat fast food very often, but today's one of those days where I'm like, ooh man, some nuggets from McDonald's sounds amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. He's gonna leave to grab some pretty soon for me. I can't remember the last time I had nuggets from McDonald's. It's been a long time. You know, I never feel very good after I eat them, but it's fine. Cannon says, I grew up with horses. No kidding. I didn't. I wish I did. And I'm not the biggest fan of them anymore. Yeah, they're terrible. Something about an animal bigger than me just never sat right. Oh my gosh, my horse would scare you to death. He is 16 hands. If you guys don't know what that means, he's like you measure horses to their shoulder, and he's like over 5 feet at his shoulder. So if I'm 5'5", 5'6" on a good day, and if I stand next to him, I can't see over his back. So, yeah. He's a big man. He weighs just under 1,300 pounds. So even as far as horses go, he's gigantic. Your average horse is about 1,000 pounds. Don't even get me started on how much he eats. It doesn't even sound real. Clydesdale? No, he's a thoroughbred actually. So he was a racehorse. So Clydesdale height, but skinny, real skinny, and it's really hard to keep weight on him. But with enough, I just give this horse like straight oil on top of his food. I'm not kidding, and that keeps him pretty fat. Even though I say fat, I wish he was fat. He's not. He is still a lean machine. Which gives me a little bit of a crisis sometimes because most of the horses out here are quarter horses and they keep on weight really easily. And it makes my horse look starved. And I'm like, I swear. So like most animals, you ration their food. Like you don't just give your dog free, like a bag, right? You like give him a scoop. I don't do that with my horse. He just has an entire bale of hay available to him all of the time. It is that hard to keep weight on this thing. On top of grain and oil. But anyway, he's a very good man to me. Yeah, Corey said, whoa, that's a big boy. Yeah, he is my good friend. And it's so funny because like when people talk to me about horses, they're just like, doesn't he scare you? Isn't he this and isn't he that? I'm like, yes. It's very, very stressful when you're dealing with a giant animal that decides they're going to be an absolute not swear word. But that's where the training comes in though, and it feels incredible to communicate with an animal like that. I usually liken it to it's the closest I can get to owning a dragon. So yeah. Except I don't let him act like that. He's a very good sir. So when I came out to Tennessee with a horse, there's a lot of things you have to get set up, right? You gotta have a vet, and you gotta have a farrier. A farrier is what does they trim their feet. And the second my farrier, he's actually my neighbor's, and they recommended him to me. But the second that he heard I was from California and I had a racehorse, they get a real bad rap because they're real sensitive. I could tell. He's like, some girl from California bought a racehorse and this horse is going to be terrible. And I was very proud because when he met me, he wasn't cold, but he was pretty quiet and reserved. And after he was done working with my horse, he was like, wow, that is a well-behaved boy. And I'm like, yes. And my farrier has been so happy to see me ever since. But that first time I could tell he was judging pretty good, which I can't blame him. There's a stereotype there for a reason. All right, we're looking pretty good. I kind of like the stiffness of that right angle though, because it's actually giving me some like that hieroglyphic feel. So I'm happy with this. People are gonna jump in this stream and be like, she's sculpting an eagle, man, but she won't stop talking about horses. You get what you get. I never had much of like a strong Valley accent growing up in California, even though like Valley Girl is definitely the default. But I'll tell you what, people out here have such a strong accent, and I'm starting to sound a way that I had never sounded before. And I definitely think about it consciously because I'm like, I'm not from here. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to sound Southern. You know what I mean? Like I know I don't really sound like it, but I've listened to myself talk my whole life, so I can tell that the way I pronounce certain words is changing a little bit. Now I'm dropping my T's, like in certain, I'm saying certain. Certain. Mountain. Anyway. Alright, this is just about done. I think this bend right here is looking a little weird. And then I want to pull this up a little higher. Very cool. Yep. I'm really happy with this. I see we had another little bump in people that are hanging out here. I'm sculpting this model to be 3D printed, and it will be in tabletop scale. But the really cool thing about these models is you could print this the size of your dog if you wanted to, whatever size your dog is. It's really just limited by how big your 3D printer is, and even then you can do it in different pieces. For the most part, I designed for a tabletop scale. So I might exaggerate details a little bit more, just so when you paint them, it doesn't fill in all the way. And if you're interested in those files, I have my Patreon linked in here somewhere, but that is how I'm able to do this for a living. And if you see this, you're like, wow, that's cool. I want you to sculpt my character. That's exactly what I do. So someone requested this, and that's why I'm doing it. This one's also more of a gift. I had someone that's doing me a favor. They're printing me one of my models in color, which is really cool and not normal. Most 3D printers are just solid. If you want a color 3D printer, you're looking at well into the 5 figures, maybe 6, honestly. And I'm like, that's more than I make in a year. So that's why it's such a big favor. And so I asked him, like, hey, what do you want me to make you? And he was like, you made a really cool Anubis. Can you do Horus? So here we are. All right, we're just about done. So my last steps here is going to be adjusting the headpiece, and you can see how this is clipping really strangely through his arm. Obviously you don't want that, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up. I'm actually gonna go ahead and split this piece entirely. I don't need that merged anymore. And this is a little too low res, so you can kind of see the before and then after. Just like it a little bit smoother. I have some weird artifacts going on in the corners right here. I don't really know why it's doing that. It has to do with the way that I Z-modeled it. We're just gonna smooth it out. There we go. All right, this is looking pretty good. I was really happy with Anubis, so I'm glad that this model is looking really nice as well. I wish I was a little more careful with the feathers right here. I didn't think they'd be visible. There we go. Corey says, the lum blasty for the wings though. Horus might not have wings, but it does look cool. No, I agree. No, I'll provide both versions. ZBrush, if you crash one more time, oh, it's getting on my nerves. We're back. I want to say it's me, but I don't think I'm clicking that fast. My gosh. I might have a memory cap on this, and because I'm streaming, it's getting upset. No biggie. And we're back. Like always, thank you guys for hanging out. If you are new here, I super encourage you to subscribe so we can hang out again. I do this Monday through Friday. I start at 11 a.m. EST. Next week, I will not be streaming on Thursday and Friday because Veilguard's coming out, and that speaks for itself. Corey says, well, look at it this way. The crashes are a great showcase of why you have autosave so often, right? Oh my goodness. This isn't even that high poly. I'm at 2 million points, which overall, yes, is high poly sculpting, but I've easily worked with over 20 before, depending on what I'm working on. Usually around just a couple million is what's most normal. or most standard for me. All right, this is cleaning up pretty nicely. Just making sure all my ducks in a row. I don't have any weird clipping going on. I knew I had a lot going on the collar, but I think that's pretty much it. The rest of this looks pretty darn good. I'm gonna play with the silhouette a little bit more here. Pull these tabs off a bit. Do the same thing on this side. You'll see as I move things around, I alternate between the 3D Gizmo and the transpose line kind of all the time. I think it's so funny that YouTube does that. Like if you post a comment and you get rid of it, I can see like Paul put something and then it has the same message retracted. And it's like YouTube, if you tell everyone that I deleted my comment, it doesn't feel like I deleted my comments. That drives me nuts because you can't edit your comment on this live chat. So if you like make like a little simple typo, you can't fix it. You just have to look at it or have like the silly message retracted thing. Always cracks me up. Looking good. Kind of just keep trekking through, getting these final touches going. It's like you do your main posing and then you go through and you kind of give some love and attention to each one of these subtools, and it really makes a big difference. Corey says, yeah, I make so many typos. I just have to laugh at myself for it. Seeing it sitting there while you read the message. Yeah, getcha. Paul says, when you were sculpting, do you adjust for supports that may need in printing? Yeah, if I got things that are really close together and I can just make them touch or support the model in itself, I'll go ahead and do that. But for the most part, resin printing has gotten so good. I mean, you really can get away with printing some pretty fragile stuff. So I try to let the artistry take, that was good. I try to let the artistry, drive the bus here, so to speak, and I don't like to work the other way. I test print all of my stuff, so if something comes out funny, I'll deal with it then. That's looking pretty nice. Yeah, at this point, I gotta look at one of my settings. I got something going on in the background here that it's mad about. I'm not even sure what it is. Got my activity monitor pulled up. Nothing really happening. No worry. Let's see, it says, Paul asked, so just add supports to enable the art. You got it. So I have this like little harsh line on the inside here, and that just has to do with how I constructed it. So I'm gonna go through a trim dynamic and just soften up that line. Even though this is not even a highlight of the model, it can kind of take away from the organic softness of it, especially people that take time to paint my models once they're printed. I like to have things look nice everywhere. All right, check him out. It's a pretty strong pose. I'm really happy with that. There's a stiffness to it, but I'm really happy with it. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this one claw on the thumb that you can see over here. There we are. Very nice. Paul says, looks awesome. Thank you very much, Paul. I'm really happy with it. Alrighty, we're moving on to post-processing. I'm gonna double check to make sure the wings are in a somewhat reasonable position. They're largely just gonna be tacked on here. There we are. I just don't want them in a weird spot. Good. I like to have the wings connect pretty far down, otherwise it's really fragile when you're handling it. And then K9 asks, do you ever sculpt in pose? I see some people do that and it confuses my brain. I do occasionally. So I also have a kind of like a side business, if you will. I do sculpt pinup models as well. And so when I'm sculpting them, I definitely like to make the pose is the focus, you know, because it's always like something flirty, something cute, you know, and the subtleties in it makes a big difference, like a small head tilt, whatever. And then I will sculpt clothes for that model. I do a lot more fabric simulation for that as well. That's under a totally different brand though. So this is M3DM, that's Spicy Arts. And it's really not that spicy. It's like true pinup. So think of like 50s kind of stuff. Like it's very, very tasteful, and that's why I do it. Corey says, what are the sort of things you could do to make him less stiff if you were gonna go that route? Absolutely. So I have the shoulders right now are perfectly square to the floor. Something that would loosen that up a bit would be to kind of like have one of these shoulders droop. And then there's a lot of tension being held through this line right here. So all of that, I would kind of let him like hunch forward more. I have a little backman almost, so he's like really proud looking and has like a lot of posturing going on. So I really just soften a lot of that. Kind of like when you want to make him look less stiff, it's like make the appearance of gravity a little more obvious. And then this right angle, I would soften that as well. But man, the more I look at him, the more this reminds me of like the side profile of a hieroglyphic, and I'm keeping it. And I could tell like the way you worded your question too, like you weren't being critical or anything. You were just like, hey, how would you do that? I really like how you asked that question. Right now I'm making sure that this collar piece is touching his body because that's a very unnecessary thing to need to add a support for. Good, it's all connected. All right, let's start post-processing. I will be sharing that Google Drive link shortly. I know there's some funny business going on in this corner right here, so I'm going to post-process this piece first. I'm actually going to Dynamesh it, which is not what I normally do. There we go. we are. You can see we have something funny going on somewhere. It says there's 36 points that are overlapping. I bet you it's this corner. No? I don't know what it's mad about. Usually if I can find it, I like to just go fix it. But if not, I can let ZBrush try to fix it, whatever it is. Oh, it fixed itself. All right, well, good job, ZBrush. You get a point. That subtracts one of the times that you crashed. Look how proud he looks. I'm really happy with it. I'm also very glad I sculpted an eagle earlier. Definitely saved me a lot of a heartache. There was a lot of work that just went into that head alone. So I'm kind of remeshing piece by piece here. I do this when I predict that there are some meshes that are going to cause a problem. Otherwise, if I'm feeling really confident, I'll merge them all at once. When I made that pangolin in yesterday's live stream, I pretty much merged it all at once. And that's because I sculpted the whole thing from scratch on stream. And I was very confident with each one of those pieces and how the mesh integrity would turn out. Then Corey said, yeah, I hope you haven't taken anything I said as sort of critique or harsh, like, oh no, you're a sweetie, I know who you are. I'm just genuinely curious. You're the pro, I'm just a hobbyist at best. I mean, even if you are just a hobbyist at best, it doesn't mean you can't have insight that I wouldn't otherwise have. But I appreciate you being humble and you're being very sweet. All right, I'm gonna put these wings at the top so I don't accidentally merge them. I want them just to be tacked on at the end. We got some really fun, weird color thing happening here. It's because the normals are getting all confused and angry. I don't have to worry about that though, because this is for 3D printing. So I'm just gonna keep on merging. There we go. We have everything immersed right now. And before I go a step further, I want to make sure that these are on the same plane. There we go. So make sure it's totally flat so it can fit on a base. And now remesh by union. There we go. It has some things that it's mad about. That's pretty normal. I'm going to delete any of those artifacts. I'm going to zoom in now and I'm going to check to see that I don't go too low poly. So I'm looking at a high detail area. I'm currently at 800,000 points. I'm going to bring this down to half, 400, and make sure I'm preserving my details and integrity. I don't like exporting at the original mesh count because it just makes these big bloated files. And again, I provide hundreds of these on Patreon, and that wouldn't be very nice for people to store on their own. All right, 400 was no problem. I usually end up closer to 200,000, which equates to roughly like 10 to 15 megabytes. Which is much more manageable than like a gig. Looking good. I might even bring this one down to 150. Excellent. Looks good. All right, now let's make sure that these wings don't have any mesh errors or anything funny going on. Looking good. Excellent. I'm gonna do the same treatment here where I kind of stretch it down and then flatten it to the same level. All right, awesome. I'm merging this down and now I'm moving it into my finished ZPR, and this is where I put the base on. There we go. I don't mind if he's a little on the tall side. I have two models in here, just these are both models I've sculpted before, and that's just to make sure that the size is appropriate for tabletop. I'm gonna make him a little bit taller. And now let's make sure he actually fits on the base, because these wings are pretty big. Yeah, I might need to tuck in the wings a little bit, which is a-okay. And then Kane and I asked, how long have I been sculpting? I started to teach myself how to sculpt in 2019. I think the very first time I ever sculpted anything was like 2018, but I did it like once and I never did it again until 2019, where I did it constantly. Hey, I'm just about done with the string.
All right.
I'm exporting right now.
This food's for you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, I got food ready, so I'm gonna like power through this. So usually, I used to offer simple base versions. I don't do that anymore because I don't think anybody uses them. I have these really nice decorative bases, and I also provide a no base version if y'all want that as well. And that will allow you to scale this however you like. All right, I have a desert one I made a while ago that I think would be really nice. Where is it? Sand. There we go. Just a really simple, nice sand texture. That wing is still not wanting to fit all the way. There we go. There we go. Barely fits on this base, but he does fit. And the very last step I do is I put it in a mesh mixer to make sure there's no like glaring issues. I already do that in ZBrush, but I like to double check it in one other software just to be extra safe. And this little bit you probably won't be able to see me do because I have it just pinned on ZBrush right now, but it's really nothing interesting. And then K9 says, oh my god, do you have any weird compatibility issues with Mac? Be considering getting a MacBook for a mobile workstation. Nope, I love it. It's been fantastic. All right, I'm exporting the winged version right now. In addition, I already did the no wing version. These are all going to be uploaded. All right, I'm uploading them right now. There we go. All right, y'all, here is that Google Drive link. Free download link. Bam. And then if you like that file, or you just want to support the stream, you can get 800 more on Patreon. All right, this is looking real good. I'm gonna do my little screenshots right now. There we go. All right, I got food that's hot and ready, so I'm gonna go eat, and then I'm gonna close the stream after that. I will leave this up for a little bit so you guys can grab that download link if you want it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you liked it at all, I super encourage you to subscribe so we can hang out again. You guys take care and have a fantastic weekend, okay? Bye.